New York U.S. Attorney Standoff. Desiree Leigh Grace vows to take office despite DOJ firing. A brewing storm of controversy surrounds the appointment of the next U.S. Attorney in New Jersey, as Desiree Leigh Grace, the judge's choice, pledges to assume office despite her recent dismissal by the Justice Department. This bold move sets the stage for a potential showdown over who will succeed Alina Habba, whose interim tenure is scheduled to conclude on Friday. In a surprising turn of events, Grace, a high-ranking prosecutor who was let go by the Justice Department on Tuesday, has vowed to take up the mantle in accordance with the law. To achieve this, she must be sworn in by a federal judge immediately after midnight on Friday, the moment Habba's term officially ends. However, this act of defiance will directly challenge Attorney General Pam Bondi, who previously removed Grace from her role as New Jersey's first assistant U.S. attorney. The Justice Department has remained tight-lipped about its intentions for the position, except for Bondi and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche's vehement objections to Grace's appointment. They accuse the judges of harboring political motives and attempting to undermine President Donald Trump's authority to make appointments. And this is where it gets interesting. Should Grace take the helm? She risks being dismissed by the president himself. Yet the Justice Department holds another card up its sleeve. By having Habba step down prior to midnight on Friday and appointing a new interim U.S. attorney, they could potentially outmaneuver the judge's decision. This tactic has been employed in similar situations elsewhere. On Wednesday, Grace took to LinkedIn to express her gratitude to her colleagues and assert that politics had no bearing on her professional conduct. In a show of defiance, she concluded her post with a pledge to assume the role she was appointed to by the judges. Yesterday, the district judges for the District of New Jersey chose me to serve as the United States Attorney for the District of New Jersey. This is the highest honor bestowed upon me based on merit alone, and I am prepared to honor that decision and commence my duties in line with the law, she wrote. Grace further clarified, "Throughout my career, I have served under administrations of both political parties. I've received promotions 4 times in the past 5 years, twice under each party's leadership, including 4 months held by this very administration. My work at the department has never been influenced by politics." Neither Habba nor the Justice Department commented when approached by CNN. Grace also declined to provide further remarks to CNN. This contentious situation arises from the U.S. Senate's sluggish pace in confirming Trump's nominees for U.S. attorney positions. With Habba and other interim U.S. attorneys nearing the end of their permitted 120-day service period, federal law dictates that if the administration fails to fill the vacancy and the Senate does not ratify a nominee, the district's federal judges have the authority to appoint a temporary U.S. attorney. Trump withdraws Habba's nomination for U.S. attorney. In a surprising turn of events, President Trump has withdrawn Alina Habba's nomination to serve as the U.S. Attorney for New Jersey, clearing the path for her to take on the role in an acting capacity. This decision follows a contentious legal battle over who should lead the U.S. Attorney's office in the state. A leadership scramble. The controversy began when a federal district court in New Jersey refused to extend Habba's term as U.S. Attorney, instead appointing her deputy, Desiree Leigh Grace, to the position. This move sparked a backlash from Attorney General Pam Bondi, who criticized the judges for interfering with the president's authority. Bondi swiftly removed Grace from her position as first assistant U.S. attorney, further complicating the situation. This Department of Justice does not tolerate rogue judges, especially when they threaten the president's core Article 2 powers, Bondi wrote on social media. Her post raised questions about who would ultimately leave the U.S. Attorney's office in New Jersey as Habba's 120-day interim term expired. The legal framework. Federal law stipulates that if a U.S. Attorney's appointment expires after 120 days, the district court can step in and appoint a replacement. However, a provision in the law also states that a person cannot serve as an acting officer if their nomination has been submitted to the Senate. This is why Mr. Trump's withdrawal of Habba's nomination is significant. It allows her to serve as the acting U.S. attorney without running afoul of this restriction. A controversial nomination. Habba, a former defense lawyer for President Trump, was initially tapped for the role in March. Her nomination, however, faced opposition from New Jersey's two Democratic senators, Cory Booker and Andy Kim, who refused to return positive blue slips, a traditional courtesy that allows nominations to proceed. Despite this, Haba has the backing of the Justice Department and the White House. President Trump continues to have full confidence in Alvina Haba and her commitment to serve the people of New Jersey, a White House spokesperson told CBS News. Support and criticism. Armin Morian, who worked with Haba on a civil case in New York, defended her qualifications. "I think she's eminently qualified to be U.S. attorney, and I think she's doing a fine job of it," he said. Morian argued that Haba's unconventional background could bring fresh perspective to the role. However, critics argue that Haba's lack of prosecutorial experience makes her unsuitable for the position. The controversy surrounding her nomination highlights the political nature of such appointments and the tensions between the executive and judicial branches. Judicial appointments and executive power. The ability of federal judges to appoint U.S. attorneys is a rarely invoked power, but it serves as a check on the executive branch. In 2008, New Mexico's District Court appointed Gregory Forat as the state's top federal prosecutor, and in 2018, New Jersey's District Court appointed Craig Carpenito as the U.S. attorney for the state. The question of whether the Attorney General can remove a court-appointed U.S. attorney remains murky. A 1979 opinion from the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel suggests that the president retains the authority to remove a U.S. attorney, regardless of who appointed them. However, this opinion is not legally binding, and there is little precedent to guide such actions. What happens next? With Mr. Trump's withdrawal of Haba's nomination, she is now eligible to serve as the acting U.S. attorney for New Jersey. The situation underscores the complex interplay between federal laws and the political dynamics that often accompany high-profile appointments. Desiree Grace, meanwhile, has indicated that she is prepared to follow the court's order and serves the interim U.S. attorney, despite being removed from her position by Bondi. Her LinkedIn post, which garnered numerous supportive comments, highlights her respect and standing within the legal community. Final thoughts. The ongoing saga of the U.S. Attorney's Office in New Jersey raises important questions about the balance of power between the executive and judicial branches. As the legal and political battles continue, the outcome will likely have broader implications for how such appointments are handled in the future. Do you think the president should have the final say in appointing U.S. attorneys, or should the courts play a more significant role? Share your thoughts in the comments below.